recognize Dr. Onder from Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the witnesses for being here today. First, Mr. Gonzalez, again, you work for the Heritage Foundation. Does the Heritage Foundation receive any federal government money?
Zero.
Any USAID money?
Zero.
No. Okay. And any of these other organizations that
Nope.
receive, any grants from the Vera Foundation, which does receive federal government money?
No.
I think my Democrat colleagues missed the point of today's hearing.
Yeah.
George Soros has every business to spend his own money however he sees fit, as does Charles Koch, as does Elon Musk. The point is, we are talking about taxpayers' money here today. And the idea that these left-wing so-called NGOs, I think one of you said, called them BGOs, basically government organizations. Was that you, Mr. Walther? They're just, basically they're acting as money laundering operations from our pockets, my taxpayers who I represent in Missouri, to these leftist causes. That is antithetical to a democratic republic like we work at, we live in, we think we live in. Mr. Walther, during President Trump's first few weeks in office, DOJ identified federal funding that was not being used as Congress intended. Many times I heard my Democrat colleagues say, well, it was appropriated, so this NGO or this government agency has a right to it. One egregious example was federal funding of $1.3 million to the NIH's Institute of Nursing Research, which was awarded to a nonprofit to partner with Girl to Girl to text minors sex education content, including how to have sex with other minor girls. Girl to Girl's website encouraged girls not to tell their parents that they're taking part in this research. The federal government should not be in this business of doing research that parents would disapprove of. Going forward, we need to ensure that agencies are complying with existing transparency requirements. Now, this NIH grant was identified through usaspending.gov, but most of DOJ's work was uncovering grant misuse that was not publicly reported. usaspending.gov was created by Congress through the Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act of 2006, which required OMB and Treasury to coordinate with federal agencies to publicly post federal awards on a publicly searchable website. But a 2023 GAO report found that 49 of 52 federal agencies didn't report data to usaspending.gov, and some of the agencies reported COVID spending that didn't match their annual financial reports. Mr. Walter, would you say that the current version of usaspending.gov is compliant with this law?
No, as you point out, there seems to be evidence that it hasn't. Plus, there's a huge thing that needs to be done. The grants are not listed by the grantee's EIN number, their tax ID number, which would make it enormously simpler to find what you're looking for.
Right. Oh, so you mentioned your website, dogefiles.org.
Yes.
I imagine it's fair for me to say that there are things in dogefile.org that I couldn't find on USA.
Well, we used USA Spending to get it, but believe me, it's a struggle to use it. It needs to be much better.
It was not easy. Okay. What can we do on this committee to ensure that agencies under our jurisdiction are complying with existing transparency requirements?
Well, I'm not aware of any accountability, right? So if I'm an agency and I don't do what I'm supposed to, who cares? What happens if anybody even finds it out?
Okay. How can we increase transparency in accounts for sub-awards and subcontracts? Is that part of the problem that it goes to, there's a contract, but then I think Mr. O'Neill maybe alluded to some of this, and then it goes to a contractor who then awards it to another subcontractor, and the money cannot be followed.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that sort of information on USA Spending, but absolutely not all of it. And some of the most notorious things in the last administration were, some of the green slush funds that got created in the billions.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. I yield back.
During the hearing, Representative Bob Onder of Missouri challenged witnesses on the issue of federal money being funneled into non-governmental organizations. He emphasized that while private individuals such as George Soros, Charles Koch, or Elon Musk are free to spend their own resources as they wish, the central concern before Congress was the use of taxpayer funds. He argued that many of these so-called NGOs function less like independent charities and more like extensions of government, serving as channels to advance political causes that do not reflect the values of many Americans. One example highlighted was a $1.3 million NIH Institute of Nursing research grant awarded to a nonprofit that partnered with Girl to Girl, a program that sent sex education text messages to minors, including instructions on same-sex activity, without parental knowledge or approval. Onder stressed that such projects misuse federal money and undermine parental authority, insisting the government has no business funding research or programs parents would reject. Witnesses testified that while tools like usaspending.gov were created to ensure transparency in federal awards, the system fails to provide reliable oversight. A recent Government Accountability Office report revealed that nearly all federal agencies either failed to submit accurate data or reported information inconsistent with their financial records. This lack of compliance makes it extremely difficult to track how billions of dollars are ultimately distributed. The discussion pointed to deeper problems, such as funds being routed through multiple layers of contracts and subcontracts, obscuring their final destination. Witnesses also criticized the absence of unique identifiers like EIN numbers in federal grant reporting, which would make tracing money far simpler. They argued that watchdog sites like dogefiles.org can uncover information buried in public data, but emphasized that this information is often too difficult for ordinary citizens or even Congress to access. Onder pressed for stronger accountability mechanisms, questioning what consequences, if any, agencies face when they fail to comply with transparency requirements. The testimony underscored that without stricter enforcement, taxpayer dollars will continue to flow through opaque channels, often supporting programs that contradict the values of the very people funding them.